Hi, how are y'all doing? In today's show, I want to share with you the red flags, the tips about a company sponsoring a person who's a foreign national, a person who's not born in the United States, who needs a visa, a work visa, or residency in the United States. So watch all the way to the end and you'll get the hot tips right here. Okay, so welcome to Green Card Guys.tv. I'm your host, John Ting. I practice immigration law in all 50 states of America and across the world, helping you solve your immigration problem. Okay, or maybe even preventing the problem from happening in the first place. Because we tend to learn a lot about these problems when people call us. As you know, we call ourselves the immigration problem solvers. And one of the most common concerns when a company sponsors someone is that, to some extent, it's a problem with immigration and also just practically speaking, in terms of workflow. Um, is that you may have the company may have offered not enough in terms of salary or too much in the company perspective. Excuse my cough. Still trying to get over it. But here's the deal, folks. Okay, so for example, what we do internally with our legal team is once we found out the job, the position, and where the job is located or where the person is living and allowed to work there, we search what the possible wage could be. To give you an idea, the first step is called prevailing wage determination. Fortunately, the government does have a website where we have a pretty good idea what it's going to be, and we also do further investigation based on the person's resume of their work experience. So there are some companies that say, excuse me, there are some companies that say, well, John, Ting Law Group, our budget for this position is X amount. So sometimes that can give us a lot of significant limitation. And so we look at, what the Department of Labor looks at is in terms of a wage being higher than not is, does it require managerial experience or a managerial type position? And specifically with being a manager or any position, really, does it require someone to report to you, to report to the foreign national? Because generally when it's those type of duties or international travel or requiring a non-English language is going to increase the wage. Okay, folks. So, look, I get it. There are some companies, there are some positions that they really prefer someone who speaks another language. I totally get that. But y'all need to understand the other side of things on the government perspective. They call it the chilling effect. So essentially, if you have more requirements like that, which generally are usually like more preferred qualification as opposed to minimum qualification, I also, but is essentially because it potentially prevents people from applying because, hey, if they don't speak Spanish or Chinese, for example, then they're not going to apply to that job. And if you post that requirement on there, like, why would I apply to a job that requires, for me, like, why would I apply to something that requires fluent Spanish or fluent Chinese? I don't speak Chinese fluently, right? So I'm like, forget it. I'm not going to apply. So that's some consideration that you need to have on the employer, the company perspective. Okay. Because a lot of companies hire us and then we ask for the job posting, the job description, and the first thing we look at is what is actually required in terms of minimum qualification. Okay, because also some companies want to put in some kind of requirement that is not typical for that position. So we also try it, not necessarily by industry, but by, typical job description of, let's say, operations manager, for example, or operations specialist. Like, I don't know, just make something, a silly one up, like grabbing coffee, ordering coffee. Like, that's not what an operations specialist is supposed to do. So, but that's just a random wild example, right? Silly example. But we try to cross-reference that. Hey, what's up? What are y'all doing? So welcome to the show. Okay. You're welcome to drop a question. If you have any questions or just want to share your experience, you're welcome to drop it down below in the chat box or comment section. And I'll try my best to share it. Now, please bear with me. I'm a bit still trying to get over my cough. I think it's almost done. But as always, want to go live to share information like this. And so today is mostly about employment concerns, okay, at least for the first 10 minutes. A company, a sponsor, because a lot of times we get people that actually do want more time, because we normally offer strategy session for 15 minutes. So the best way to unlock that, okay, to get access to that, is to use the secret code. And today's Wednesday, so share the secret code. Hump day is the secret code, okay? If you want to be prioritized for a strategy session for 15 minutes at no cost. But like earlier today, usually several times a day, we do have consultations that people pay because they want more time. They want at least 30 minutes. We completely get it. And I've noticed that it tends to be people who have questions about how to get sponsored by a company, or the company wants to know all the considerations in terms of immigration perspective before they make a job offer, which I highly recommend that, because it just wouldn't look good if you offer something 30,000, but in the government perspective, they, for that position in that county in the United States, it's like 40,000. So it's just gonna, or vice versa. It's just not gonna look good either way. So it's really better that the company or HR contact us or any immigration law firm. I mean, I don't know if other immigration law firms would do this, but that's something that we offer as a courtesy, because we think it just makes sense to do that. But not all law firms think like us. So whatever. Anyways, the second main tip to be concerned about in a company perspective, and also the foreign national perspective, is is about your work experience. Okay, so if you're already working for a company who's wanting to sponsor you, that's great. Okay, especially for residency. But the thing is, when it comes to residency, there's a rule that's called significant comparable experience. I call it the 50% rule. So essentially, the job description requires minimum 2 years experience for that specific role in a specific like prior experience. Let's say like, I don't know, like as an administrative assistant. But now the new position to be proposed job position is like I don't know, operations or something. And but your prior experience is more than 50% than the experience that's required, and that 50% of that experience is with that same company, then that's not good. Okay, that's not going to work out. Like, that's not something that the Department of Labor or USCIS will screen for in the beginning of the process. It's much later. It's like at least a year later. So it's going to be frustrating for y'all if you go through this process. You're depending, especially as a foreign national. It really goes both ways. But as a foreign national, you're like depending on this, right? And to go through, have no mistakes, no concerns, and you get through to the back end at the later in the stage of the case, like 2 years later, you're like, oh crap, I wish I had known that before. So that's why we're on the live show, to share things like this so that you can prevent that kind of issue, right? So in fact, our team does research proactively to see whether there were other cases, depending on the case, like EB1A, just EB in general. We're proactive to know why people are denied, so that we could use that for our benefit, for our clients' benefit, so we can avoid those mistakes, right? We research. We don't just willy-nilly just apply for things without knowing why people are denied. Okay, we're so very fortunate that data is available, but we're very proactive in that sense. Geez, maybe I shouldn't go live. I apologize. I'll try my best to answer 10 questions. Okay. So, anyways, so happy to answer your questions. Let's start with that. Let's go to that next. Okay, Maria. Do people lie 444? Do the US go after people that lie on their application? How likely is it? I mean, if you mean go after, like, in terms of like a ICE officer or something like that, or fraud and detection officer, mm, it may depend what you're lying about. But there's nothing that I'm aware of. um, I don't know the specific guidelines on when USCIS would send their fraud detection officers to do a site visit. Um, but yeah, don't lie. I wouldn't do it if you haven't done it already. Do not lie, please, because I mean there is a waiver for that. For lying or misrepresenting or omitting a fact is also misrepresentation. Some people think misrepresentation is only like if you changed a fact, like, alternative facts. But I just wouldn't do it. Okay, if you're thinking about it, don't do it. Also, if but yeah, there is a waiver for that, but 601 form, but not everyone is eligible for that. So keep that in mind. All right. So how much would EB1 cost? I think is what you meant. Cost with premium processing. You're interested in the entire cost of process. So I'm not able to answer that completely on the live show because TikTok banned me for 5 minutes or so before when I talked about fees. So just contact us. We're happy to share. But premium, the government fee, I think I share that. But just better, just contact us and we'll share the list. Okay. I just don't want to get banned by TikTok again. They're pretty nitpicky on that. But let's see. Plebotomy, as if that's how you say it. Plebotomy Greek geek training. That's cool. I'm gonna check out your channel. This user says, I would love to offer this training for immigrants here. Okay, cool. Send us a DM in Chicago. I think that's what he means. CHGO. Send us a DM, any website you have or whatnot, application, career page, or something like that. We'd love to share it with others. And yeah, appreciate that. Okay. JJ, JJ on TikTok, is FOIA accurate? No, not always. Okay. And sometimes they hide things. They claim an exemption, so they can hide it. So of course we look at it to see, well, likely what's hidden, is that what we need? Because you can appeal it, appeal the exemptions. Does take a while, but it just depends what you're looking for. Sometimes what's hidden is not necessary for what you're looking for. Usually it's not for our clients, but it just depends on the person, right? But even if it's not hidden, and maybe it's just not provided at all on any document, then we have to get more specific. Okay. So JJ or anyone seeking FOIA or about to submit FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, you I don't recommend just putting in, like, there's a question like, what are you looking for essentially? What are you searching for? Um, what are records you're seeking? We've done in the past where it's like the entire alien file, the entire immigrants file, records. That tends to take longer. I don't know why. Maybe it helps. I don't know what they do internally with USCIS in the FOIA department, but maybe they just type in, it's as if they're searching for a specific document, and they type in, like, if you want like a former petition that was previously filed for you, we would specifically put in I-130. Excuse me. Or like a receipt notice, approval notice. And this is tough. Okay, sorry guys. But yeah, if we know what you guys are looking for, what we're looking for, we will mention that in the FOIA request. So that can make it a little faster for them. User 6458. Your husband has an expedited removal. Can you get him a green card? It's gonna be tough. Okay. I don't know of a situation where your husband I don't know if you're asking this, but if your husband can be in the US, with an expedited removal order and still get a green card. From what I know, you want to fact check it, but especially in this situation, but typically you want to, in this situation, for any removal order, okay, for anyone with a removal order, typically the law is that you have to live outside the US for 10 years and then get sponsored, okay? You can start the sponsorship process earlier if it was like a regular removal order. So you have to check the information for your husband's situation. But like, for example, when someone gets a typical removal order, it's a 10-year restriction, but you can apply for a waiver in advance before that. It's a whole long process, but file a petition, schedule for interview, get denied at the visa interview, and then file for a waiver. But if it's a permanent bar, like it actually says permanent bar, then you actually have to wait 10 years and cannot actually get going sooner to get the status sooner than 10 years. So hopefully that helps in that sense. CRYS 17. You have a question concerning immigrants, child support, sponsors' responsibility in case being interstate. That sounds like a lot of questions. You're welcome to ask it, but that's a lot of questions. That's a lot of topics. So anything related to interstate typically is like a family lawyer needs to help with that, especially with child support. Also, sponsors' responsibility. I can talk about that. But yeah, typically it's because maybe you mentioned many lawyers might not know about this, but it's probably because you're asking the wrong lawyer. I don't know what the specific question is, but you probably need to speak to with a family lawyer specifically. But I don't know what your question is. Let's see here. Richard Lopez, if someone crossed illegally 20 years ago, do you still have to get a waiver? Yeah, in general, for unlawful presence. Unlawful presence. So even if you have a sponsor that's it's through marriage and that person's whether that person is a US citizen or resident, excuse me, need to file a waiver. It is a tough day for me. Yesterday was fine. Sorry, folks. Yeah, you still need a waiver. USCS. Any tips for company sponsorship? IK. Yeah, I shared it earlier in the show. So sorry, I can't go through it again right now. Maybe a different, like every Wednesday, I typically share tips about company sponsorship. Or otherwise, you can go to our website and download the free guide on our website. Let's see here. Typically, our free guides has that information as well. USCS asked for a copy of medical report. Will you still have an interview? So when USCS sends you a request for evidence, like an official RFE for medical exam results, default typically, okay, you're not going to have the interview. At least that's the intent by USCS. Maybe later on they change their mind. It's the government. They can change their mind anytime they want. But by default, right now, when you get an RFE for 2023, the trend is that when you get the RFE for medical report exam, sealed envelope, it's likely going to lead to a waived interview. But as I mentioned the last couple of weeks, if you get scheduled for an interview, it's not the end of the world. It's not a bad thing. Okay. We just, like a couple weeks ago, we had a client approved on the spot. Now, does every officer do that? No, unfortunately not. But fortunately, with our proven checklist and preparation for our clients, it worked out. Is visitor visa open for parents? Yes, I mean, in general, but it just depends. The visa wait time for that for interview depends on the country of nationality and where you're applying from. Your Elsa. Man, it's tough. It's tough to talk today. I'll probably answer 3 more questions. Your husband petitioned for you, LPR, June 2020, California Service Center, still nothing. Ooh, yeah. Is your husband eligible? Elsa, is your husband eligible to become a citizen yet? Because that would speed it up. But yeah, a petition filed since June 2020, it probably got stuck. Like literally, it got forgotten. I hate to say that, but I mean, yes, the petitions filed by resident spouses tends to take longer, but it shouldn't take more than 15 months. Okay, between 12 and 15. So it's been what, 3 years now? At least 3 years. So I'd file a lawsuit for that, or have your husband become a citizen if that's if he's eligible. Is it better to petition your brother from the Philippines or your parent petition for your brother? Probably your parent, assuming your parent already has status. But you have to check the visa bulletin on that. But typically, Philippines. Let me see if I can do a quick check for you. But in general, just file a petition. File the damn petition. Like, just do that, okay? Do that. And even if you file for your brother and one of your parents file for your brother or sibling, just go ahead, get it done. Okay, so I can share on YouTube. I know the person asked this on TikTok, but I can share my screen on YouTube and Facebook at least. That November bulletin is out. Okay, we're in October, but sometimes, yeah, almost like mid-month, the next month's bulletin is out. So let me scroll down. Let's see here. Philippines are working on cases that the petitions filed in April 4th. Well, that is interesting. Am I looking at this right? Oh, yeah. So April 22nd, 2004. I was getting those numbers mixed up. April 22nd, 2004. So that's like what, 9 years? Some other countries like Mexico is 22 years. They're working cases in April 2001. So it's this chart, if you're seeing on Facebook and YouTube, this is these are priority dates, okay? Which typically the receipt date is also priority or pretty close to it. So that kind of give you an idea. This is chart B, okay? This chart B. This chart B does not mean the date the visa is ready to be issued, but this is a date where you can go to the next step, like uploading documents, things like that. So yeah, just file the damn petition, because regardless who's eligible to do it, and it's because it takes too long. It takes so long. 9 years, 9 to 10 years. It takes so long. So consider it like a birthday gift or a Christmas gift, whatever you celebrate for your sibling. Because usually people that ask us this kind of question, the parent doesn't have status yet. So, but I mean, some people try to time it right, like who's like, maybe you as a sibling has U.S. citizenship status now, but on the chart, right, the chart that like I showed on TikTok, YouTube and Facebook, might show that, of course, the sponsorship through a parent who's a resident would be faster, but by the time your parent becomes a resident, that could be another one and a half years, right? So if you're in a situation where only you as a sibling is a U.S. citizen, just file a petition. Just have something, okay? Of course, eventually, when your parent becomes a resident, then you have to file a new petition. But there's no restriction. So this is one of those examples that if you have a sibling who actually wants status in America, consider the topic of the day: how to get sponsored by a company. All right. So, because even though that could take a year to 2 years, whether it's non-immigrant visa or residency, it's still going to be faster than a family member sponsoring. That's not immediate relative. Vishal on YouTube asks, how long after medical RFE can we get decision? I mean, fortunately for us, when we've had that early in the year, it was like the next week. But I know many of y'all have not been getting that quick of a response. But for us now, we don't have any new data on that, because now we send in the medical with the initial package. So Hopefully that helped. I mean, I guess that doesn't really help you. I'm sorry for sure. You apply Nazar on YouTube. Apply for DS-160. If you got it approved and they ask for your documentation, you sent it. It's going to take more than 6 months. It has been taking more than 6 months. 8 months now, you say. So sorry that's happening to you, Nazar. What is that? Non-immigrant? Which non-immigrant visa? Usually, we file lawsuits depending on your risk tolerance, depending on the client's risk tolerance. In some scenarios, we file a lawsuit after 2 months, but depends on the scenario, depends on the facts. But I know many people don't want to file until like after 6 months, and that's fine. Hopefully, you get the visa by then. But just like in Nazar situation, it clearly the government has waited a long time. So I gotta fix my glasses. I don't know why it's all jumbled up here. After filing to remove 2-year condition. Oh man, have I gone over 10 questions? I sure have. By the way, folks, if you're just now joining the show, welcome. We do try to share information in a way that it can hopefully prevent a problem from happening or solve one of the immigration problems, your situation. Of course, through my state bar, I have to tell you, this is legal information. This is not legal advice, because if you do want specific legal advice, you need to consult with a lawyer one-on-one. Okay, one-on-one. So in that note, we like to provide you an option. A benefit for y'all is a consultation, a strategy session for no cost to you for 15 minutes. But please do us a favor. When you ask for this, whether you fill out the form on a website, greencardguys.com, okay, go to the contact page, option 1, qualify for it. It's not automatic, free. You have to qualify for it. Or when you call in, share the secret code, because our CARES team can prioritize y'all because you spent time on the live show. I greatly appreciate it. And the secret code today is Hump Day, okay? Because today's Wednesday. Why not? All right. Let's see here. Let's see here. Yo just filed N400 in September. Any idea why they didn't just reuse your bio from 485? I was trying to say, yo. No idea. It's like they're just picking and choosing. I think it's completely random. I don't think it's any. But it's also because it depends when you did your biometrics before, right? During pandemic, they were reusing it. They were started to do something to reuse biometrics. But from what I understand, biometrics, your fingerprints expire after 18 months, so you have to refresh it. So I'm assuming it's been more than 18 months. Okay, so flawless beauty. But then again, it doesn't. Hopefully, it's not too far from you. I know sometimes the biometrics location, ASC locations can be far from people. But in general, you didn't ask this, but the ultimate question people ask: how long does it take? Depending on your field office, of course. But we've noticed, at least for us in Dallas and Houston, for example, it's like average 3 months. So even with biometrics, okay, it's okay to have biometrics. Flawless beauty, great name, by the way. How can employer sponsor an employee who overstayed ESTA waiver by 3 years? Ooh. Number one, thank you so much for the rose, flawless beauty. Number one, what we look at, are you eligible for a waiver? Sorry, don't mean to laugh. It's my cough. Are you eligible for a waiver? If you're not eligible for a waiver, then we don't recommend even having a company sponsor you, because I hate to say it'd be a waste of time for both sides. Okay. And to be eligible for a waiver on unlawful presence, you need to have a spouse or a parent who's a U.S. citizen or a resident. So you're probably thinking, well, if I have a spouse who has status, then why would I have a company sponsor? I get it. Correct. I'm just letting you know who is qualified or how you can be qualified for a waiver for unlawful presence. So if you're not eligible for that and you overstayed, because ultimately when you get sponsored by a company for residency, the very last step is the 485 application, and that's for adjustment of status. So when people file that, the USCIS is going to ask you in a document, in RFE, show us proof. How did you maintain status? AKA, if you did not maintain your status because you overstayed your visa, it's understandable. I can understand, but you have to be eligible for a waiver. So the correct time to apply for a waiver, if you're eligible for it, is after after the petition is approved. Unfortunately, you have to wait until then. You can't do it before that. Not for the 601A. I know it's frustrating. I wish we could file multiple applications at the same time, because they I don't know. I think it's part of it is because government doesn't want to waste personnel resources, probably in that sense. Okay, folks, I can answer one more question. I think my voice can handle one more question, and then I got to rest or answer emails. Dorian, thanks for asking. You would like to schedule a set up appointment for a consultation. So the two best ways, okay, well, at least two main ways, is giving us a call right up here. Facebook, YouTubers, you can see it up here. Or you can go to our website, greencardguys.com. If you're, especially if you're on TikTok, I know some of y'all are driving. That's not safe to be listening on TikTok, or at least not listening and driving, but you can send us a DM later, okay? If you want the website link, okay? Or a phone number. But share the secret code. If you want to unlock the free 15 minutes, no cost to you, strategy session, share the secret code, hump day, okay? I try to come up with silly codes because, I know when you speak to a lawyer, it's always so serious. So I think we can have a little fun in life. All right, so let's see here. Okay, one more question. I'll answer one more. Lola, I wish I could repeat about that. Next Wednesday, every Wednesday I talk about company sponsorships. But again, if you missed it early in the show, it's okay. Go to our website and download the free guide. Okay. We have a guide about almost every situation. In terms of sponsorship. So you take that out, check it out. Okay, ladies, question here. This will be the last question. Okay, folks, I apologize. If I didn't answer your question in depth or at all, you're welcome to ask tomorrow or schedule a consultation, and one of our premier associates will talk to you about it. Okay, 170 days waiting for USCIS to answer your R feedback is normal. Hell no, that's not normal. Because that's almost 180 days, and that's what, if my math is correct, 30 times 6. Yeah, is that 6 months? No, 5. What's my math? How many months is that? 180 days? That's nuts. Yeah, 6 months. I gotta stick with my first answer. Yes, 6 months. That's not reasonable. So if this is like a 485 application, this is one of those situations, like if you had a lawyer, then the lawyer can might be able to submit inquiry directly to the field office. They got rid of like the direct email, unfortunately. Ever since Trump took over, they still don't have it allowed. So depending on the field office, we have the field office director's email. But yeah, 6 months is a long time. So this is around the situation. The timing wise, I would try to do that. Because yeah, if it's since it's a 485 application, then it's not a situation to call the national hotline. They're not going to do anything, unfortunately. There's probably not a situation to submit inquiry online. You could try, but I just don't think it filters through to the field office. So hopefully that helps. Okay. So if anyone is stuck, call us. Okay, give us a call, schedule an appointment. There might be a situation where, like, our cares team would just say, "Sorry, we can't help you," and it could be like because it's just too soon and it's not what we consider unreasonable delay yet. Because if you just filed your case like 2 months ago, that's not unreasonable delay. I know all y'all want status ASAP. I get it. But we have a certain chart where we follow based on our timeline. And sometimes the timeline is not always the same depending on the where you live. Because where you live, not like country wise, like Philippines or something. Well, they can't because Manila embassy is like super slow of everything, unfortunately, or and juxtaposed with like having a lot of applicants. But depending on the United States, like, and where the petitioner lives, for example, because some U.S. attorneys are not as flexible in terms of negotiating to get your status sooner. Okay. So, anyways, sorry, me being having a little cough is throwing me off. But folks, if you want to unlock, get access to a strategy session for 15 minutes, give us a call right up here. Or if you're on TikTok, send us a DM and we'll send you a number or the website. We're happy to help. We're here to solve your immigration problem or maybe even prevent that problem from happening in the first place. Okay, folks. So I'll see y'all tomorrow. And senior code today again is Hump Day. All right, y'all have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh yeah, follow and like. Thanks.